Hi guys, my name is Галя and you're watching a video from the series Briefly About. First, I want to clarify something, or rather share something with you. I am really confused what language I should use to film my videos. Honestly, when I initially started, I started with English, then I switched to Bulgarian because there are many people in Bulgaria who need advice. And I thought maybe it would be better if we have Bulgarian videos available. However, the more I speak with people that usually watch my videos, they all say everyone who watches your videos speaks English, so there is absolutely no problem. Plus, you're giving Bulgarian subtitles. I really am confused what to do. Also, I hear my kids screaming from the other room, so apologies for this. I'm not sure if I will have the nerve to refilm this video, so oops. If there is someone screaming from the other room, you know I have two little boys, so you can blame them. Anyways, so I will be I will stop for a second and try to, calm them down, and I will be back. Okay, I'm back. Not sure if it will get any quieter, but here I am to continue. This is Phalaenopsis tetraspis forma christiana, or also known as Phalaenopsis tetraspis C1. So to start off with some boring, nerdish taxonomical details, Phalaenopsis tetraspis forma christiana, or C1, is a variety of Phalaenopsis tetraspis which blooms. So the C1 blooms a bit more differently. Its specific feature of this type of Phalaenopsis is that it can produce sepals or petals that are colored not in white but in red, as you can see here. Some flowers can be completely white, some flowers can be completely red, though I have never seen that in person. Some may have blotches, spots of red, like for instance, where is it? Like here, like this tiny spot. So the coloration is up to the plant, though in my opinion, usually it's the light that is the reason why you can get more red or more white on your Phalaenopsis tetraspis C1. The type of variety, the type of form of Phalaenopsis tetraspis doesn't have this red sepals or petals. Rather, it has lines, tiny dashes that are different coloration on a white flower. Further, you have there's another, well, I can't really say a species, you will see why now, but there is a Phalaenopsis speciosa, which is absolutely similar in terms of, genes and its structure. So it's the same, but the coloration is different. There are different forms of Phalaenopsis speciosa where it can be bluish, grayish, brownish, reddish, purplish, etc. Lots and lots of varieties. And it was until some point in time, both Phalaenopsis tetraspis and Phalaenopsis speciosa were considered different species. Then, with the progression of science and when people are able to examine the genes of the plants, it turned out that actually the difference between speciosa and tetraspis is in the coloration, and coloration variety is not enough solid and valid reason to separate these plants into different species. So at some point, Phalaenopsis tetraspis and Phalaenopsis speciosa became synonyms, one and the same plant. And I will add some information that I read from Wikipedia today, but it's currently many hybrids that were listed as tetraspis hybrids are now listed as speciosa hybrids. Anyway, it's so confusing and it changes all the time, so it doesn't matter. So I will just move on and talk about that was my smaller son. That was funny. Anyway, sorry. So I will continue with the specifics of my variety of Phalaenopsis tetraspis. So these are worm growers, and they in nature they live on very low altitudes from 0 to up to 400 meters, which means that these are flowers that these are plants that usually live in warmer climates, and they have more solid and constant temperature. So they live in a warm, humid environment. There is no not too much fluctuation in temperature, and it's constantly warm-ish throughout the year. So Phalaenopsis tetraspis is also fragrant, mildly fragrant, though I really can't smell it from very far. I have to really go and sniff the flower to notice any fragrance. Another feature of this type of Phalaenopsis, of this species, is that it's a sequential bloomer. So if you have this type of Phalaenopsis, you don't cut the flower spikes because they will continue blooming throughout the year. Every few months, because these types of Phalaenopsis, they don't need a drop in temperature in order to induce spikes. So even constant warm temperature is okay, and they can bloom through every few months without actually really stopping. So what happens in my case is I have 2, 3, this is the third spike that is more recent, so I have 3 spikes, and every a couple of months the plant would bloom with 4, 5, 6 flowers. They will stay for about a month or less, maybe 3-4 weeks. They will wither off, and then a month later, 2 months later, it will start developing new buds on the same spike and bloom again. So you can have blooming Phalaenopsis tetraspis all year round, provided you give it good warmish temperatures. If you keep that plant in a colder room during the winter, if you're in Bulgaria or anywhere where there is winter as a season and it gets cold, and if it gets cold in your in the place where you keep the plants, they kind of go to sleep if the temperature is too low, so they stop their development, or just their metabolism becomes slower, so it might sleep in quotation marks until you give it warmer temperatures again. But if you keep constant warm temperatures, it can bloom all the time. Just to share some information about my plant in particular, this plant was bought in June 2018. It was considered that it was about 6 months to blooming size, and sometime in the end of 2018 it did try to bloom for the first time. At that point, I wasn't really familiar with how I should care about it properly, and I would give it standard Phalaenopsis hybrid care, which means that I would wait for the roots to turn gray and to become dry before my next watering. And as a result, what happened was that that spike that the plant developed, it dried all of its buds but one. So it bloomed with just one bud because it was too dry for the plant. And now, for instance, if you see, I have these flowers here which have begun to wither off, and I was wondering why it happened, and it is because I forgot to water it again. It's dry. So when you dry out the roots of this type of Phalaenopsis, it may wither off some of the flowers that are blooming in the moment. So it's okay to give it a constant higher humidity around the roots. Anyway, to continue, after that initial spike that withered off and couldn't bloom, I started keeping this plant more moist around the roots, so I would water it not when the roots are dry, but rather while they were still greenish. So when I see that the water has begun to evaporate and they're not that green, but they have started to dry out a bit, this is when I would water again. And the plant took off really well, and it's been blooming on and off every few months since then, and every new bloom is better, has more flowers. So yeah, it only gets better and better. It's really, really nice. With respect to media, this plant is potted in 9 to 12 millimeters bark chips, plus I've added sphagnum to keep the media more moisture retentive. I haven't repotted it because it's blooming all the time and I can't seem to find the proper time to do it, and it's in the original media that I potted it when I first bought it in 2018, so it hasn't been repotted since then. And I can say that in this particular case it needs to be repotted. It doesn't look great, and I believe that probably the pH is of this media is already a bit too acidic. So I think I should repot. I just can't find the right time to do it. As I said, it's constantly blooming and I don't know what to do. With respect to light levels, I give it eastern exposure because that's the only exposure I have. And it usually sits about a meter away from the east-facing window. It's warm all year round in my apartment. It would get below 19, very, very rarely, 19 degrees Celsius. Very rarely in the winter, just for a few days. Other than that, it's very warm. At the moment, it's 25 degrees Celsius in my kitchen, and outside, I think it's below 0 Celsius. So it is warm. It is very sunny, and there is a lot of light. What else can I share with you about fertilizer? It's a problem fertilizing this plant because it is constantly blooming or constantly developing, and I'm usually confused what type of fertilizer I should apply to it. Basically, what I try to do is when I see there is a new leaf developing, I give it more nitrogen, and when I see that buds will be forming, I give it a bloom booster. When it's doing everything, I don't know what to do. Sometimes I don't fertilize it because I'm unsure what type of elements it will need. So I'm not very, diligent with fertilizing with the fertilization of this plant. Guys, I had some technical difficulties, so I couldn't finish the video, and actually now I'm filming maybe 4 or 5 days later. I will just wrap it up. This is the plant at the moment. It's still flowering, though some of the flowers withered off. Anyway, this was everything. I just wanted to mention something, and it's that a friend of mine, Sveti, she's also preparing a video on this type of Phalaenopsis, so she will be uploading it, and I will be linking her channel in the description of this video, so please feel free check the description and you can visit her channel. I will also add a link to her video when it's done. So yeah, you can share her how she cares for that plant, and you can compare, and you can choose whatever works best for you. All right, this was everything. Bye bye.